Good morning, and welcome to this session on exploring cultural as a catalyst for peace building and violence prevention, which is a journey organized by the social and urban team of the Social, Rural, Urban and Resilient Global Practice. In this discussion, we're proposing to explore with you different angles of how cultural heritage can promote development in fragile contexts by reinforcing social capital, fostering local development, and promoting cultural industries as new sources of growth and job creation. We don't have a lot of time, so I won't get into the details of the bio of everybody, but just to tell you that today the discussion will be shared by Paul Numba, who is a country director for Mali, Niger, Central Africa, and Chad for the World Bank, and we'll also do some introductory remarks. And to illustrate the debate today, our guests will present experience from Brazil on empowering marginal urban youth engagement in creative industries, and that will be done by Mr. Anderson Sa from the Afro Reggae Cultural Group. Mr. Sa created this group about 2 decades ago, and to move away youth from drugs and violence in the favelas, and since then has developed about 30 projects in Brazil and abroad. Then we will go to Mali, where we'll explore the cultural heritage preservation and how this can help rebuild the multicultural fabrics of Timbuktu. And this will be led by Ambassador Cynthia Schneider, who is a distinguished professor in the field of cultural diplomacy at Georgetown University, but also the co-director of the Timbuktu Renaissance, which is a Malian-American initiative to support Mali's recovery from conflict through a focus on culture. And then we'll have a little broader perspective that will be presented by Alexander Mark, who is a Chief Technical Specialist of the Fragile Conflict and Violence Cross-Cutting Solution Area of the World Bank. Then we will open up for a few questions and discussion, and then we'll have some closing remarks by Same Waba, which is a practice manager for urban and disaster risk management in the Africa region. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you. Thank you, Sylvie. Good morning, guys, and welcome to this session on culture. I like it a lot. Culture brought us together. I will say a few words. I know we have time limitations, so I'm not going to take on your time, because I think the speakers and the guests have more to say than I do, so I would like to give them more time. But let me just say that André Malraux used to say culture is what you remember when you have forgotten everything. And I think in the context of crisis, it's exactly what you go through, because when people are fighting or there's a conflict, they tend to forget that they used to live together in social cohesion, and really culture is the only thing that can really bring them back together. And I have seen it myself in Mali, where I live, and I really see the power that it's behind culture. And that's the reason why I'm very delighted to be with you for this session today. And I would like to urge the speakers to really tell us how they go about it in sensitizing communities, members, in mobilizing them around the issue of, for example, in the case of Brazil, of youth violence. In the case of Mali, it's about the peace that we need to rebuild. And on both grounds, I think it's about economic opportunities, because when it works well, people can really gain and make an earning and find their way through. I have a minor constraint, and I would like to disclose it before we proceed, because I will need to leave the room around 12:20. It's happened that I have a president of Central African Republic visiting Washington this week. She attended the forum, and she will be meeting with World Bank Managing Director at 12:30, so I should be with her over there. So when I have to leave, don't pay attention to that. Same has kindly agreed to take over, so that at least you can continue the conversation. So with that, let me invite our guest, Anderson Francisco. Welcome again. Tell us about your experience in Brazil, and how good has it been, and what were the challenges? Over to you. I don't know how much time you want, but I would like to give you, most probably, how much you need? 10 minutes, fine?
10 a 15 minutos, mas eu queria...
15 minutes, okay. Go ahead.
10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, sure.
¿Estás? ¿Dónde?
Just to mention, the presentation will be in Portuguese if you need to get translation devices.
Mundo degradado, caos crescente. O planeta é uma grande favela. O homem continua desumano, tudo parece sob medida para dar errado. Mas há utopia. Loucos insistentes acreditam na transformação. Somos afro-reggae. Trocar um fuzil pelo berimbau, derrubar todas as fronteiras com explosões de vitalidade e alegria, das ruínas fazer nascer a liberdade e o orgulho de ser o que se é. Somos afro-reggae. Lutar pelo lado certo da vida errada, por uma vida sem lado, vida inteira de pessoas inteiras, porque ninguém precisa ser o que não é. Somos afro-reggae. Lutar, mesmo só, porque ninguém está sozinho. Conexões humanas, conexões urbanas. Se tinha tudo para dar errado, por que está dando certo? Somos afro-reggae. Salve a arte que nos salva no meio da guerra. Tráfico da liberdade e da militância cultural. Mudar a vida das pessoas para mudar as nossas também. Salve a arte que nos salva. Somos afro-reggae, porque nenhum motivo explica a guerra.
Bom dia,
Good morning.
meu nome é Anderson Sá.
I'm Anderson Sa.
Sim. Não, em inglês. Primeiramente queria começar
First of
falando
all,
que o
allow me
surgimento do Afro-Reggae
to say
ele
that
nasce a
Afro-Reggae
partir de
was
um
born
jornal onde a gente
as a
em
result
92
of
começou a falar da
publication
cultura.
that was started in 1992 and that talked about culture.
É o outro está em inglês, está em português. Está
This one? Oh, okay. It's okay, I have it.
E o Afro-Reggae, ele nasce em
Afro-Reggae
em
was saying
1992 através
started
de
in
jornal.
1992
A gente, grupo de
with
amigos, de 4 amigos no Rio de Janeiro, decidiram
journal
fazer
or
jornal
a
e falar sobre a
publication
cultura
that a
negra.
couple of friends
Isso no início da
wanted
década de
to publish
90,
talking about
onde a
black
gente
culture.
tinha muita coisa
In the
acontecendo no
90s,
Rio, a
We
violência
started,
crescendo muito,
and violence was growing very
violência
fast in Rio
policial
at that
dentro das
time,
comunidades
police
crescendo muito.
violence
E a
within our
partir daí,
own
a gente decidiu criar esse jornal
communities
falando da cultura negra.
was
E
also
depois começou o
developing. So we
trabalho nas
started
favelas no
this
Rio de Janeiro. Isso em
publication talking
93.
about
Um fato marcante que
black
deu início
culture.
a esse trabalho foi
And
quando
in
houve uma chacina
1993,
em Vigário
there was
Geral,
a
onde policiais militares assassinaram 20
murder
moradores
in
dentro da
Vigário Geral,
comunidade onde
slum
eu
where
nasci e me
20
criei. Eu venho de uma
of the
geração,
members of this community
pra
were
vocês terem
killed by the
ideia da
police,
minha
and I grew
comunidade, eu
up
venho de
there.
uma geração
And
de 17 amigos, só tenho eu e mais
we
5 vivos.
we
assim.
started
A
17
geração
friends
toda da
in my
minha-
generation,
da minha
and there are only 5
adolescência
that are
foi
still
dizimada.
alive now. I mean, we were decimated, my generation, so to speak, by the violence.
Está aqui, está no pendrive.
Your presentation is in this.
Estava no outro.
You want
naquele
the-
outro. Estava numa outra pasta aqui dentro desse pendrive. Posso puxar de novo? É porque a apresentação está em português.
Yeah.
Deixa eu pegar aqui. É.
Okay.
Racing. This one here.
Yeah. Isso aqui fora.
The first vial.
Não, isso tá aqui.
Aqui, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. O que é uma PowerPoint? Uma apresentação?
Essa aí.
Ok.
This one here.
Isso.
It's a PDF.
Ela já tá aí na máquina.
So you already have. Okay.
É só abrir ela.
Okay, just open it. It's a PDF. Esse aqui?
This one here.
Não, é só abrir ela, abre ela.
Just open it directly.
All right.
Ok. No, this is. Esse tá em português ainda.
Não, tá em inglês.
Ah, ok,
Tá em
yeah,
inglês.
yeah.
Desculpe. E aí o nosso trabalho ele começa em
So,
93,
as I was saying, we started
onde a
working in
gente começa a
1993.
promover e começa com a
Through
nossa
the
missão de
promotion,
promover a justiça e a inclusão através da
Justice and
música
inclusion,
e da
that was our
cultura
mission
afro-brasileira.
through
Essa foi a
Afro-Brazilian
forma que a
culture
gente
and music.
achou de
This is
trazer
the
para
way
dentro da favela
that we
a
thought
cultura do
would
país,
allow
a
us to
cultura do
bring
mundo,
the
a fim
culture of
de
Brazil as
melhorar
a
no início a vida
country,
daquelas pessoas que
worldly
tinham
culture
sofrido
within
com a chacina,
the
onde pessoas da comunidade delas
so
tinham
that
morrido.
the
O nosso
people
objetivo
could be
foi
helped.
criar
I mean, those who were
empreendedores
victims of
sociais,
the police
mediadores de
massacre.
conflito
And
e
so
protagonistas sociais,
we created
para que jovens da
entrepreneurs,
favela
mediators,
pudessem
social
levantar a
actors,
sua
so
autoestima.
young
Porque no Brasil
the
a
youth
gente
of
hoje
the
vive
favelas
uma
could
baixa estima total das pessoas que moram
develop
nas favelas, né?
self-esteem and
Não
leave
ter uma qualidade de
a
vida
life
digna,
of crime.
muitas não têm
A
nem
lot of
saneamento
people
básico, não têm
don't
uma
have
vida justa.
self-esteem because their lives
Então, o
are
nosso
so
trabalho veio
poor
totalmente
and
para a gente
limited.
fazer
There's no
isso, dar
sanitation,
esse objetivo
nothing.
de
And
melhorar
so we had
a
as
autoestima
a
dessas
goal
pessoas.
to
Aonde a gente tem
improve
hoje
self-esteem
nossos
of
instrumentos
the
para
inhabitants of
fazer
the
essas
slums.
ações. São
So
4 núcleos comunitários,
we
a
have
gente tem
4
4
community
núcleos
groups
em 4 favelas
for
no Rio de Janeiro e outras
cores or
frentes no
centers
Brasil, onde a
in
gente
slums
capacita
in
algumas
Rio
pessoas
and
para
other
irem
parts
implementar
of Brazil.
trabalhos no
So
Brasil, nas suas
we also
comunidades.
promote
ONGs do
people
Brasil todo
to travel
vêm
through
visitar o
Brazil
Afro-Reg no
and
Rio de Janeiro,
find
a gente faz uma
communities of the same
capacitação
type where
e
they
eles
can
montam os seus
work, and we
projetos lá.
therefore bring
Não
people
são
from other
Afro-Reg,
regions to
são
train
militantes
them.
das suas
They're not Afro-Reggae or
comunidades.
members of Afro-Reggae,
Então a gente
they
tem
are
52 projetos,
activists and they own
uma agência de
communities and we
emprego,
train them.
9 grupos artísticos
We have
e
community
escritório
centers, 52
representativo em São Paulo.
projects, an agency for
Então, os nossos
reintegration
núcleos, ele
and
passa por isso,
professionalization.
educação, projetos especiais
we, in
e
our
algumas
centers,
ações que eu vou
promote
falando ao longo.
education. We have special
Então, a gente tem
projects and
núcleo
other
base,
actions that I'll
que é o
describe
Centro
to you later.
Cultural, o Ali
We
Salomão.
have the
O Ali Salomão é
cultural
um poeta
center.
muito conhecido no
Wally
Brasil.
Salomon.
Esse
Wally
Centro
Salomon
Cultural
is a poet.
nosso
He's
fica em
very well
Vigário
known in
Geral,
Brazil.
onde a
This
gente
is in
trabalha
the community of
principalmente a
Vigário
música
Geral,
e a cultura
where we
nesse
of course
espaço, é o
develop
nosso espaço
culture
maior,
and
é um
music.
prédio de 4 andares,
It's a
dentro de uma
four-story
favela, uma grande estrutura musical, uma grande
structure
estrutura para o
within the
desenvolvimento
favela
artístico, várias
with
salas de música,
sound equipment,
vários estúdios
music
musicais.
equipment,
E também em
studios,
frente a esse
and
centro,
people can
onde está esse
come and train and
público,
play.
isso aí foi a nossa inauguração, a gente tem uma praça
On the right, you see
onde a
the
gente
first
leva a cultura e
evening when we
entretenimento
open the center.
para
There's
toda a
a
comunidade.
square in front of
E
the
os
place
outros
where
4
people can come
lugares onde a
and
gente
see
trabalha.
the shows and
Parada de
listen to the
Lucas, uma
music.
outra
There are
comunidade,
other 4
Caju,
communities where we work,
Cantagalo,
Parada
na
de
Zona
Lucas,
Sul,
Caju, Cantagalo,
trabalhamos mais com
in the
circo, e
southern
uma
part of
sede
Rio.
no
And
centro da
we also
cidade,
have kind of a
onde a gente
headquarters
realiza
in
nessas nossas
in
ações.
downtown Rio.
São 24 oficinas,
We
onde a
have
gente leva
24
música,
workshops
dança,
to
teatro,
which we bring
circo,
theater,
entretenimento,
music,
teatro,
dance,
grafite,
all
para
sorts of
dentro dessas
entertainment,
comunidades.
graffiti,
E a gente tem uns grupos
so
artísticos,
to empower the
porque
community.
ao longo desses
And
23
we have
anos,
different
onde a
artists
gente
and
conseguiu dar
groups
toda
of
essa
artists
aula de
and,
percussão, dança, essa
throughout the
formação
years,
cultural para as pessoas,
we
a
were
gente formou
training people
bandas,
and we were
onde se tornaram
bringing
jovens
culture to them, and
consagrados
we
artisticamente na
created these
cidade
groups
e no Brasil,
of
que
youth
se
through
formaram
the
e também
city
viraram
and also
multiplicadores.
in other parts of
Então a
Brazil
gente tem diversas
who
bandas, uma
were
banda de
trained by
samba,
us and then
uma
became
banda de
trainers
reggae,
themselves. So
uma
we
banda
have
de rock,
Afro
uma
Samba
banda de instrumentos de reciclagem, que é o Afrolata.
band, we have
Então
a
esses jovens
Parvati,
foram
Afrolata,
formados ao
another
longo desses
type of
23
music.
anos.
So
hoje são
In the last
multiplicadores
23
e
years, these
fazem
young
esse trabalho também
people
continuamente
became
em outras
multipliers
comunidades
because they do
e
the same
através
work
dos
in
seus
other
eventos.
communities, other
Então temos uma
parts
trupe
of
de
the country.
teatro,
We have a
uma
theater
orquestra
group, we have
de
a
música, um grupo de circo.
music
Isso tudo depois do
orchestra,
trabalho
we
a
have
gente conseguiu fazer.
circus.
Temos um
It
bloco
was through
também
our
de
work.
carnaval.
We
Nós
also
todo
have
carnaval no
a
Rio de
carnival
Janeiro.
group, you know,
Esse último
carnival
carnaval a
is
gente
important in Rio. So this
conseguiu
last carnival,
arrastar 500 mil pessoas na praia de
we
Ipanema. Temos um
brought
grupo de dança também, música.
500,000 people
E
to the
outros
beach in
projetos
Rio.
também.
They wanted to see our show.
A gente tem um projeto
So
lá
there's another type of
que é um projeto
project.
novo, tem 4
It's a
anos,
new
mas é um
project.
projeto
I
que está
mean,
tendo muita visibilidade no
it's
Brasil, que é o Segunda Chance.
been 4 years
O
since
que é
we've
esse projeto?
been developing it.
A
It's
gente
called a second
pega
chance. It's called.
ex-detentos,
So
pessoas que estão acabando de
we,
sair da cadeia e faz uma espécie de
we
capacitação
work
para
with,
eles. E a gente também tem
ex-cons
uma
who are
certa
freed from jail,
contato com
and we
algumas
work with them.
empresas
And
onde
we
elas dão
also
emprego para essas
reach out
pessoas.
to companies
Porque não só no
to
Brasil, mas no mundo
employ
todo é muito
these
difícil
ex-cons, because
essa vida
not
dos
only in
jovens
Brazil,
e
but,
dos adultos depois que saem da cadeia.
throughout the
E
world,
não
it's
se
very
tem
hard to
projeto
find a
nenhum
job
para isso,
after
para se fazer
you
essa
leave
preparação
jail,
desse
right?
indivíduo.
And
E o que acontece
there's
lá é que
nothing
cada vez
in the
mais a gente
country
tem
to
a
train
pessoa
these
saindo da
people and
cadeia,
prepare them.
3 meses,
But
6 meses, um
what
ano depois
we do
volta.
now,
Porque nenhuma empresa
we
quer
try to
dar,
train them.
porque né, o
Because
CPF
normally, I
dele,
mean,
o
they
documento dele
leave
já está
jail
no
and
registro
6
onde
months,
ele é
a year later, they go
ex-presidiário
back because
e
nobody
ninguém
wants to
quer
employ
dar
them.
emprego, essa
Because, you know,
chance
they
para
have
essas
that
pessoas.
in
E a
that
gente tem esse
in
projeto
their
lá,
record,
que é um projeto que está
and
sendo
nobody
bem
employs them.
gratificante
So we have the
para todo
second
mundo.
chance project, and
A gente tem um projeto lá
paid.
que a gente chama
It's
de
paid very
comandos.
well.
O
It
que
works.
que acontece?
And we have
Onde a gente
these,
pega
what we call
e
commandments.
faz debates em universidade,
These are
em
groups
escola,
where
em
we
comunidade, em
promote
todos os lugares,
debating in
onde a gente pega
schools, community schools,
ex-traficante,
universities, where to which we
policiais
bring
militares, policial
military
civil,
policemen,
policial
civilian
federal,
policemen, federal
e os traficantes,
policemen,
o
traffickers,
bom é que é o traficante de
and we
cada
bring them all
facção. Que lá no
together.
Rio de Janeiro
And in
existem
Rio,
várias
the
facções
traffickers
criminosas que brigam pelo
have
território da
different
cidade. E a gente faz esse
bands, and
debate
they
para justamente falar como a gente
form different
consegue
gangs, and
construir
they
uma
fight
paz,
each other.
como a gente consegue
during these
construir uma melhor cidade,
commandment
onde todos os
groups,
traficantes
they all
que estão aí
work
fazem parte
together
da
and discuss
Afro-Reg
how to improve
não
the situation,
são
how to
mais
build a
traficantes,
real
são
safe city.
ex-traficantes que a
And
gente conseguiu
these people
tirar
that we brought
da
are former,
criminalidade.
of
Então a gente
course,
faz esse
traffickers.
debate
They're
para
no longer
falar
traffickers,
como
but they
a
have
mudança
that
de vida deles
experience, and we
aconteceu e
bring
como a gente
them
consegue
together with these other people
construir
and they
uma cidade
explain what they
mais
did and
justa.
how would it be
Esse é
possible
um
to
projeto que a gente
change
está
things
fazendo com
and
o
have
Google,
a
tá
more
no
just
mapa, que é
city.
mapear as
And we're
favelas
also
lá no
trying
Rio de
to
Janeiro, né?
establish
Para dar
maps
mais
of the
visibilidade,
different
porque se a
slums
gente
in
for
Rio.
lá no Google, a gente não vê
Because Google, of course,
as
Google
ruas
Maps
da
will not
favela, a gente
show
não
you
consegue
the
ter noção.
streets or
Então a gente está
the
fazendo
ways
isso com o
within the
Google
favela.
para
So,
o mundo digital,
working
o acesso
with
à favela,
Google,
o crescimento
we
do
are
mercado da
mapping
favela, os acessos
favelas,
públicos
showing the
se sejam
markets, showing
mostrados
public
dentro da favela.
access and the different types of
E a
businesses
gente
that
tem
you
um
may
projeto também
find
novo
within the
lá,
favela.
além do arco-íris.
Beyond the
É um
Rainbow
projeto
is a new
também
project
onde
that we
ninguém quer
have.
trabalhar com essas pessoas, né? Que é a comunidade LGBT,
is the
onde a gente
LGBT
também
community,
recebe lá no nosso
and nobody
escritório
wants to give
30
them
pessoas
jobs. I
né,
mean,
que fazem
through this program, for instance,
dessa
we bring
sexualidade, onde
together
a gente consegue
30
fazer um trabalho com elas
LGBT
de
people,
educação
and
e minimamente às
we train
vezes de
them,
tirar o documento. Muitas dessas
and
pessoas também são as
we
pessoas que são
also
muito
try
injustiçadas,
to
né,
help
pela
them
sociedade. A gente
overcome
faz um trabalho com elas
injustice,
de
because they are
direitos
victims
humanos,
of injustice. So we work with them,
fazê-las
talking
procurar
about
o
their
serviço
human
público
rights,
e também
insisting
algumas
that they
acabam sendo
look
encaminhadas
for
para
public
empregos
services that could help them,
dentro
and
do
we try
próprio
to
Afro-Reg
guide them
ou nas
to find
empresas parceiras que a gente tem.
jobs.
E também tem um pouco do trabalho do Afro-Reg
the
pelo
companies that
mundo,
work together with
onde
us.
a gente, ao
And
longo
we
desses
have
23 anos,
tentacles all over the
já
world.
podemos
We
passar
have
por França,
what we
Alemanha,
call
Holanda,
Afro-Reg over the
Inglaterra,
world,
Canadá, China,
Canada, UK,
Índia,
China, India,
eu acabei
France,
de dar
Germany.
uma palestra na
I
Colômbia, em
just
Bogotá.
spoke in Bogotá, Colombia.
Eu,
a few
através
days
do filme
ago.
conhecido meu, depois vocês pesquisem, Favela Rising. É um
It's a
filme que
movie,
dois
Favela
americanos
Rising. You
fizeram
can find it
sobre
in
a minha vida, mas pegando o
on the
contexto do
internet.
trabalho da Afro-Reg.
It's about myself,
a
my
gente
life,
ficou
made
conhecido
by two American, and
internacionalmente.
they show
Então hoje a
the
gente já
work that
consegue
Afro-Reg
ter
does. And
essas
through that
ações
movie,
feitas em vários
we
países,
became known
como
throughout the
Canadá,
world
o Favela Favela
So-
Rising, que foi um filme que ficou bastante
Favela Rising
conhecido em Londres,
became
vários
well
shows
known,
no
a
sul
well-known
da
movie in
África, na
London,
Austrália, na Índia, na China. como está aí alguns
Southern
lugares que a
Africa,
gente
Canada, China,
realizou
Australia. You
ações
can see a list of
através
places
de
where we
palestras,
have
através de
worked
shows, através
and
de ir lá fazer.
we
Esse último em Cabo Verde, agora
give
recente,
talks,
no ano
etc.
passado,
And the last
foi um trabalho
point
bem marcante
is
para a gente,
Cape
onde a
Verde.
gente
Last
ficou
year,
lá,
that was very
17
interesting.
pessoas do Afro-Reggae
We
fazendo
brought
trabalho
17
cultural lá,
members of
ensinando
Afro-Reggae
percussão,
to
música,
Cape Verde
dança, grafite
to
para jovens
work
de
there and
comunidade
to bring
lá
culture,
em Cabo
music,
Verde,
graffiti,
e
painting,
depois
everything to
as ONGs
the
de
youth
lá
of Cape Verde.
e
And
a
the
Unesco e a
NGOs,
Unicef continuaram o trabalho lá,
UNICEF,
potencializando o
UNESCO,
trabalho
then
artístico
continue
deles.
our work
E aí, na linha de
to
educação, a
multiply
gente também tem um projeto
and to have a
ligado a
lever
fortalecer
effect.
os
So,
próprios trabalhadores do Afro-Reggae e suas
we
famílias
also
no aprendizado
try
de
to
terminar o seu ensino fundamental. Desculpa estar passando um
promote
pouco rápido, mas depois a
education
gente vai ter as
and,
perguntas.
you know,
Eu posso
continuing
falar um pouco melhor.
education for the members of
A gente também
Afro-Reggae.
tem
Those who work for our group with
uma frente
Afro-Reggae,
de
we want
shows
them to
e
continue
TV,
going
né?
to school,
A gente tem
improving their
um
education.
trabalho
We have
com
TV
vídeo,
shows,
onde
we
a gente tem
work
programas de TV
with
lá
video,
no
we
Rio,
have TV
vários programas na TV fechada, na
shows
TV
in
aberta.
Rio, open and closed TV networks.
Um escritório em São Paulo,
We have
representante.
an
E aí
office
os
in São
impactos
Paulo.
que a gente consegue atingir com o trabalho ao longo
And
dos anos.
our
A gente já
impact.
pôde
What
ser
have we
ilustrado com a
accomplished
visita da
through the years?
Madonna no nosso
We have brought
trabalho.
Madonna
Caetano Veloso
to
é
our country
padrinho
to
da
work with
banda que eu
us.
faço parte.
Caetano Veloso,
Eu
a
sou
musician
cantor de uma
and
das
well-known
bandas do Afro-Reggae mais
artist, is
antiga. O
the
Caetano
godfather,
Veloso é
so
uma
to
pessoa que
speak,
ajuda muito o nosso
to
trabalho.
the
Então,
musical
várias
sector of our group.
celebridades
Caetano Veloso helped
brasileiras
us
já
very
visitaram
much.
nosso
And
trabalho,
other
como
Brazilian
Gilberto Gil,
celebrities,
até o próprio
Gilberto
cineasta Pedro
Gil,
Almodóvar já esteve lá,
Pedro
o Spike
Almodóvar
Lee,
has
e
been
por aí
there.
vai.
And so you
E
have a
outras
lot of these
coisas que a gente
celebrities
acaba
who come and
fazendo
help
também,
us.
realizando, que foram palestras e também visitas
We,
de
of course,
universidades que
organize
tiveram lá no
conferences and
Afro-Reggae
talks
e
in different
algumas
universities
televisões internacionais.
and
E
international
hoje,
TV
ao longo desses
stations.
23 anos, o Afro-Reggae consegue
So,
ser
in
uma
23 years,
ONG no
Afro-Reggae
Brasil
became
e também
an
a gente
NGO in Brazil.
abriu uma empresa
And
onde
we
a gente
also
começou
created
a
a
ver
company.
e temos a expertise que com o trabalho social
Because
a
we
gente consegue
realized
gerar
that
lucros.
through social
Então a
work, we
ONG
could
abriu uma
make
empresa
profit. So
para a gente
we,
poder, com essa empresa,
as
gerar
an
lucro
NGO,
por
we
trabalho
created
social.
a company,
Através
a
de
commercial
quê?
company.
Os shows dessas
So
bandas,
that,
as nossas
for
palestras,
instance,
a gente vende
the shows that we promote,
o que a gente
our conferences
promove, a
and
gente tem vários
talks, we
CDs,
sell these things. We have
DVDs
CDs
sobre
that we
trabalho,
see,
livros
DVDs
que a
that we
gente
see,
escreve
books that
sobre
we
o próprio
write
trabalho,
and
onde a
sell.
gente faz toda essa captação
So
financeira
we,
desse produto,
therefore,
e também os programas de televisão acabam dando um pouco de porcentagem
get
para a
money
ONG.
through
Então
these
isso faz com
initiatives.
que a
The TV
gente,
shows, for instance, bring
no ano
money
passado,
into
geramos
our
uma
NGO.
receita em
Our
torno de 7
revenues
milhões
last
de
year
reais e
reached about
30% foi o próprio
7
trabalho
million
do
reals.
Afro-Reggae que gerou
And
esse
it was
esse
our
conteúdo,
work,
né?
the work
Através
within
da venda de
Afro-Reggae,
shows, através da venda de
through
CD.
selling
A gente também
shows,
tem uma
selling
frente
CDs,
hoje lá,
we
onde a gente consegue
earned all that money.
ter grife, onde a gente
So
consegue
we
ter
also
uma grife
have
de roupas.
a
Várias marcas de
mark,
roupas no Brasil,
a
elas hoje
brand
lançam
that's
a linha
our brand,
Afro-Reggae.
our own
Então,
brand. Many
uma marca do Brasil
clothing
muito conhecida
brand in
chamada
Brazil now
Reserva
have the Afro-Reggae
lançou a linha
brand.
de roupa do Afro-Reggae. A gente recebeu
So
um
there
e-mail
are-
que a Adidas quer conversar para criar o tênis
Adidas
Afro-Reggae no
got in
Brasil.
touch
A
with
gente
us
tem
and
essa
they want to
expertise
create
de
the
gerar
Afro-Reggae tennis shoes in
receita.
Brazil.
Isso é um
Adidas, so
pouco que a
you know,
gente
these are
acaba
ways
tendo
by
de
which we
resultado de mídia no Brasil, né? O alcance
generate
que a gente
income
conseguiu
and revenue.
fazer.
You can
E
see
todos os nossos
here
projetos são muito
our
bem divulgados. A
actions
Globo,
with the
né, que é
media.
a televisão no Brasil muito forte, dá muito retorno
Important TV
de todas as
networks
ações que a
like
gente faz
Global
na favela.
promote us. I mean, they show
Obrigado.
all our work and favelas of Brazil. Thank you very much.
That's impressive. Thank you very much, Anderson. I mean, that's really impressive work, and I'm really impressed with what I've heard. I know my friend Sammy has told me about the importance of, I mean, involving social workers and people who are really from the communities to address some of these challenges and creating this kind of solution. I mean, I took note of the social infrastructure that you were able to build and how you have been able to evolve, to make it evolve, so that now it has become more or less like what I would call a multinational venture in addressing violence and conflict in in cities, on in youth violence and conflict in cities. So wonderful experience from Brazil, and we will draw later the lesson that we can eventually duplicate or replicate in our settings in Africa. Let me now invite Ambassador Cynthia to come to the podium and make her own contribution. Over to you, Cynthia.
Well, I am so glad that I don't have to immediately follow that incredible presentation and that I can instead turn it over to Morgan Freeman, who is going to be narrating a very short film on Mali, the importance of culture in Mali, the recent occupation in Mali, and the importance of culture for Mali's future. After that, I'll follow up with a short presentation that goes into a little more detail. So we're going to start with the video. This is made by Molly Raskin, a filmmaker. And here we go. If we could turn out the lights, it'd be great. Oh, it was fine.
Yes.
Timbuktu. Perhaps no place in the world has so vividly captured our imagination like this fabled desert city in the West African nation of Mali. Mysterious, otherworldly. So remote and difficult to reach, most people don't even know if it truly exists. I have a deep connection to this part of the world. My own ancestry can be traced back to the desert nomads who settled Timbuktu centuries ago. Along the big bend of the Niger River, where savanna meets the Sahara, Timbuktu was an oasis in the vast desert. A vibrant city at the heart of the trans-Saharan trade routes. Merchants came here carrying gold from the south and salt from the north. They also brought scholarship, creating an astonishing written record of intellectual achievement on par with the Italian Renaissance. With its renowned university, Timbuktu became a center of scientific inquiry and religious tolerance. And then there was the music. Musicians celebrated the region's deeply rooted musical traditions, creating a sound so soul-stirring that it's transcended all boundaries and time, from this heart of Africa to the place I call home in the Mississippi Delta, a music we now know around the world as the blues. The music is celebrated yearly at the world-famous Festival of the Desert, where regional musicians share the stage with rock legends.
This part of West Africa is like the cradle of music. It's like the big bang of all the music that we love.
In 2012, militants linked to Al-Qaeda invaded northern Mali and occupied Timbuktu. The extremists brutalized the people, smashed sacred buildings, burned priceless manuscripts, suppressed women, denied education, and silenced the music. Yet another dark chapter for the world in our daily struggle to counter the ignorance of violent extremism. A cancer destroying civilization in once proud and empowered places. In 2013, French-led forces restored a fragile peace. But Timbuktu has been devastated, and the attacks continue. This story of Timbuktu doesn't end here. In fact, it begins anew. A simple phone call from a sand-swept refugee camp to a city half the world away, one friend to another, united in their love of music. They envisioned a renaissance in Timbuktu, a grassroots movement to counter violent extremism, using culture as a catalyst for development and lasting peace. They began with the musicians, breaking the silence with a touring festival in exile. Its success inspired others to join the movement, from social entrepreneurs and professors to diplomats, presidents, artists, architects, and actors.
If we could get Mali's musicians to play at the UN, I think there'd be like world peace in 5 minutes.
They've joined arms to save Timbuktu's precious manuscripts, rebuild UNESCO World Heritage Sites, lay the groundwork for the university's rebirth and a center for culture and innovation, spark development in tourism, agriculture, education, natural resources, and the empowerment of women.
This can become a story of reconciliation, cooperation, and development.
There is much to be done, so time can't be wasted. This struggle against violent extremism may seem like a distant problem, but in our interconnected world, it's right at your front door. It's up to all of us to act. I'm lending my voice. What will you do?
Thank you. Now I'd like to go a little bit more into detail about what the Timbuktu Renaissance is doing, and also step back a little bit and look at this whole question of culture, why culture is important in post-recovery situations and in fragile states. So here are a few ideas. Culture is what fuels our identity, both the past, our history, where we come from, and also our vision for the future, where we're going. Essential elements in rebuilding any society. It's what provides social cohesion. In Mali, it's particularly music that glues society together. There are different aspects of culture in different places. And then finally, it's very important for economic growth. And this is particularly in the area of cultural tourism, but also commercial products, as we've heard, concerts, music, and all kinds of products. And you know, the World Bank has a very distinguished history in leading the development of a very important cultural institution in a very fragile place, Afghanistan. The World Bank had the vision to support the visionary. Could we turn these lights, unless we're going to be interrogated anytime soon? It'd be really great to get these lights off. I'm waiting. But if we could get those off, that'd be really great. The person on the right, Dr. Ahmed Sarmast, is the founder of the Afghan National Institute of Music, which is an extraordinary school in Kabul. It's 360-degree education. Children get a full academic education, plus a focus on music. And Dr. Sarmast has almost single-handedly saved traditional Afghan music, which is a huge part of society, and which, of course, the Taliban attempted to eradicate. But they also learned classical music, jazz, all different kinds of music. And half of these students come straight from the street. They come through a local NGO, and their families are paid $1 a day for them to attend school. And that's enough to keep them in school. The standards are incredibly high. They recently toured the United States, performing at the Kennedy Center and Carnegie Hall to sold-out audiences. And this all started, and the tour was supported by the World Bank. But this all comes with a price. And several months ago, Dr. Sarmast was the target of a Taliban suicide bomber in Kabul, who infiltrated and bombed a concert at the French Cultural Center. I'm happy to say that he has made a full recovery and is back at the helm of the Institute and planning a tour of their all-female orchestra to the United States in the coming years. But as you see from the example of Dr. Sarmas, and also as this cartoon captures brilliantly, I think, extremists get the importance of culture. This refers to Timbuktu. And why is that? I think it's because they recognize that if you eradicate culture, past and present, then you can completely control and subjugate people. Then you can dominate them. So if they understand that, and if that is true, shouldn't the reverse be true? Shouldn't restoring and rebuilding culture be an essential part of rebuilding after recovery and supporting fragile states? Now, you saw the importance of the Festival au Désert in Mali in the film, and one of the goals of the Timbuktu Renaissance Initiative is indeed to bring the festival back to Timbuktu, something that hasn't been possible yet because of the security. But it's so important for a number of reasons. First, it's hugely important for the social cohesion of the region. As you saw, people come from all over, as well as, of course, the West, the United States, and Europe. But they come from the region, they gather for 7 days, they listen to the music, and they talk. And they resolve problems. Now, additionally, it's hugely important for economic development. People live for an entire year of what they earn during the time of the festival. In its place, instead, Mani Ansar is now organizing the Festival au Désert Caravan of Peace, which brings Malian musicians from all over the country together on one stage on a tour of the southern part of the country. And you have not only traditional musicians such as these, but he's also brought together rap musicians to appeal particularly to the youth. And this year, the leading rap musician, who's in the white t-shirt in the center, who is from the south of the country and quite honestly had been saying some very negative things about the North and about the Tuaregs of the North. Mani Ansar, my co-director of the Timbuktu Renaissance, is himself a Tuareg, and he invited Master Sumi to come on the tour. They, of course, got to know each other. Master Sumi, of course, changed his ideas. And this year, he organized a whole group of Malian rappers from all over the country to come together, as you see here, and perform each in their own dialect an anthem of unity and peace. And this song is now playing on the radio in Mali and the region. Now, I just ask you, how else could you communicate such a powerful message to such a broad audience? The Caravan of Peace is also a platform for debates and discussions, and here the Minister of Reconciliation came together with refugees, all organized by the music concert, to speak to them. Here's Mani Ansar, who organized all this, to hear their grievances and to have a discussion with them. Now, in Timbuktu, the Timbuktu Renaissance has several goals, and you heard about them a bit in the film. So let me go into detail about our current goal. I'm sorry, I was told I had 10 minutes for the presentation, not for the whole thing. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll go quickly. I'd like to make a couple of points, though, because in conflict zones, you have to be flexible, you have to work with trusted partners, and you have to listen and understand the local conditions. So that in our development of a Center for Innovation and Culture in Timbuktu, which is our current focus, a center that will have computers, Wi-Fi, music studios, artisan studios, e-commerce, and above all, a gathering place for youth, so that they can come together and get to know each other and rebuild the social cohesion. To get this going and to see if it really would work in Timbuktu, we went to the most respected people in Timbuktu, beginning with the imam. And here you see the Imam of Timbuktu and the head of the Committee on Crisis next to him, who was the interlocutor for the locals with the jihadists, looking at the movie you just saw. And we were very relieved when they said, okay, we think this is a great idea to have a Center for Innovation and Culture. It's exactly what the youth, which right now have no place to go and nothing to do, exactly what they need, and we support it 100%. We then spend a lot of time investigating one location, and when the violence broke out in Bamako and has increased in the region, we had to completely change. So you have to be flexible. Our wonderful, beautiful location's too dangerous now. So we've moved. And we're planning to develop this center, and I'll conclude here, at the Auberge du Désert, which is the hotel where all of the NGOs and all the governments go when they're in Timbuktu. It's run by a very respected local leader, Al-Hous, who is so optimistic about the future of Timbuktu that he is building, and you see the entrance to the hotel there on the right with one of the lead historians of Timbuktu, also supporting our project. On the left, you see the new construction. And Al-Hous is so optimistic, he is building a conference center and a performing arts center. And so we plan to build our center adjacent to his. We'll use the Performing Arts Center for concerts. We'll have the only music studio north of Ségou. All these musicians in the north of Mali, not one music studio. So I was glad to learn from my Brazilian colleague the importance of that. We'll have concerts there for the local population, but also disseminate them worldwide through our website to show the world that the culture in Timbuktu is still alive. Thank you very much.
Excellent, Ambassador. I mean, it's not the first time I'm hearing you talking about it. I mean, this is a visionary kind of initiative, and I think you have many supporters, not only in Mali, but worldwide, to get Timbuktu where Timbuktu has always been. President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta usually say, when Mali was, over were not. When Timbuktu was, I mean, other cities didn't exist. And what you're trying to do with this initiative, I think, is really critically important. And we can see the contrast between the two approaches, but this is powerful in regaining the foundation for peace and social cohesion in northern Mali. And I think we will discuss later when we also hear from Mark of global international experience. And I think I see a trend on how we can really use culture as a glue to our different initiatives to bringing people back together. So Mark, over to you.
Thank you very much. So I guess I'm here because for a few years I was the manager of social development in Eastern Europe, and I had the largest number of projects on culture in my portfolio, as well as a very large number of projects on conflict prevention. But those two were not always connected. Now, yesterday when I started to look at the news, as I do every morning on conflicts, I realized that there was a very important information that came out. And this information was that the criminal Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court of Justice, was starting a proceedings against a member of Ansar Dine for the first time ever in history for the destruction of the 14 mausoleums of Mali. And that sent in itself a very, very strong signal that actually by destroying cultural heritage, you actually destroy something that is part of humanity. I don't know if you realize, but that was not done during World War II, that was not done before, it was just done this time, and probably in reaction to a war that is going on at the moment in the Middle East and another place that have never seen so many cultural destruction as part of this war. So we are at a time where those questions are really, really important. And I want to remind you, maybe not from the positive lens, but that culture have always been part of the issue of conflict. We would remember that both Stalinism and fascism tried to define what was the right and what was not the right art, and what was the art that was allowing the correct identity, and what was the art that was not allowing the correct identity. And then it created a very strange situation. We think about a German film producer like Renée Riefenstahl, for you who know her, who has done an incredibly beautiful documentary on the 1936 Olympic Games that were organized by Hitler, and that were organized in a way that aesthetic will be absolutely central. And the aesthetic was trying to promote a specific vision of mankind, and she illustrated it marvelously well. And then there was a big question: should be she judged for being pro-German or pro-Nazi or not? That was a big question. Finally, she didn't, but she was ostracized for a very long time. Herself was not part of the Nazi party. So it's a complex issue. Why is it a complex issue? It's a complex issue because we are a meaning creation animal. We're trying to create meaning. And art is a big part of creating this meaning. And why do we create meaning? Because we need it for identity. And whether we like it or not, our identity is what I am and what the other is and what the other is not. And art is a big part of that. So I produce an art for collective identity, not only for me, but because I share it with others. And also because sometimes some others have a different way to share about it. So what I want to say, and we don't exist much as individuals, we exist mostly for those collective forms. So we mostly exist for, this is my art, this is his art, and of course after a certain stage we are able to say we're citizens of the world and all those arts are all of us. But very few people say that, because at the end, when you try to define who you are, you define through a certain culture, a certain vision. So what I want to say here is probably that art is more like atomic power. It's an extremely powerful thing, but it can be bad and it can be good. And it can be bad and can be good depending on how you use it. And I will just give you an anecdote. When we were working at the sort of end of the Yugoslav war, and there was this very famous Mostar Bridge. I don't know if you know about it, but there was this bridge in Bosnia-Herzegovina that was making the connection between two parts of a river there. It was the Neretva River, and it was built actually as a connection by the Ottoman in 1566. And it was really the sort of strong symbol, because it was such a nice piece of architecture, but also such an elaborate piece of architecture. It was built as a symbol of the Ottoman presence in this area that was actually populated by Croat population. And at the time of the Civil War, and everybody was stricken by this scene that was shown on all the TVs in the world, that you see a tank, a Croat tank. Well, this bridge has zero logistical need. It was just not aiming at the Bosnian militias on the side, but just aiming at the bridge until it collapsed. It was such a symbol that at the end of the war, the World Bank and UNESCO came back and said, well, we need to reconstruct it for the need for this. But then came this very relevant question, and we don't have to be naive about the power of culture. What about if we reconstructed before there's a reconciliation between the Croat and the Bosniak? Could we do that? Aren't we sending the wrong signals? Because this was the symbol of the Ottoman presence that the Croat rejected, and they destroyed it for that. If we reconstructed before there's actual reconciliation between the community, aren't we just say that basically the Croat has lost and the Bosniak has won at a time we were trying to bring back a community? No doubt that we had to restore it, but we had to restore it at the right time. And we finally did it, and I think it worked pretty well. But what I want to say is that we don't have to be too naive about culture. What we have to take culture is about its power, It's power to bring together. It's very powerful, but it can also be a divisive power. So when we do it, we need to do it as part of the integrated part of a reconciliation process in a society. So that's my maybe advice on how to go further on those topics.
Thank you, Alexander. I'll just make a couple of quick comments. I mean, I happen to sit from a vantage point that allowed me to experience quite a few of the experiences that we've discussed today. I used to be the sector leader in Brazil and have worked there for 5 years. So, and during my time, we did quite a bit of innovative work on issues of slum upgrading, citywide urban development programs, and specifically in Rio de Janeiro, where some of the work that we have done, both as the joint urban and social group, supported an important program in Brazil called UPP Social, which is the Police Pacification Unit. That's the UPP program that basically brought the state back into the favelas or the communities in order to reduce the presence of the drug trade and take back possession of that territory and help bring social development and peace, and obviously initiatives like Afro Reggae, which have thrived there from before that intervention, but which needed that type of fertile environment. And then currently in my current job, I manage urban and disaster risk management in Africa. And in our portfolio is the engagement with Timbuktu. They're trying to put together with Paul on trying to identify a new approach of bringing cultural heritage and local economic development in order to spur the revitalization of a city that is being affected by conflict. So, I mean, I obviously feel very personally and strongly towards not only those two countries, but also these lines of business. I think I have 4 small points that I would like to make. And they revolve around what is it also that the World Bank Group can do in this setting. Alexander gave you a perspective from social development. I'll give you maybe a little bit more the urban perspective. One, I think we're rightly positioned going forward to try to work on this dimension of places and people. So where basically that interface of culture and community development, human development, but overall sustainable development. We are now structured as a group that brings together the urban development practitioners, the social development practitioners, the disaster risk management practitioners who work on issues of resilience, together with those who work on land and rural development issues in one cluster, with an overall engagement on building inclusive and resilient communities. Communities here span from cities to basically smaller types of settlements, urban and rural, but most importantly, the dimension of community. So we're bringing together people and places for the first time within one roof with a different approach. So I think this would be really an attempt, if you will, for the World Bank Group to shift gears towards this agenda on trying to integrate cultural heritage into our mainstream urban development programs. I mean, if you will, in the history of those of you who have been long enough at the World Bank, I mean, there has been around the 1990s a strong push towards cultural heritage. At the time, Ismail Serageddin, who was the vice president of the World Bank, has basically sponsored within the ESSD, too many acronyms at the World Bank, but I mean, basically sponsored that line of business, that emphasis on the importance of cultural heritage for development. And during that time, a lot of important analytics have been done, advocacy work, major conferences, and an important push to creating the type of portfolio that involves projects like Mostar and other interventions. I mean, the Medina in Fez, I mean, the revitalization of the Medina and a variety of other projects in across all regions in the world, but specifically in the Middle East and North Africa, a little bit also in Latin America and Eastern Europe. After that, I mean, we've gone through a bit of a lull, if you will, around issues of cultural heritage. It became, at a time of scarcer resources, maybe it's a dimension that's less obvious or its linkage for development. And maybe there was some concern as to, you know, what is it that the World Bank can do to promote the operationalization of this agenda. And then it has had an important second revival, in fact, led by one of our colleagues over here, Guido, who is the coordinator of the Cultural Heritage thematic group, and a series of new analytics around issues of of economic uniqueness. Are we? Yes. I'll go very quickly to that. I will hope that you will be able to stay maybe an extra 5 to 10 minutes so that we can have some questions. With that, I think there are two lines of business that cut across our work in Brazil and in Africa, where we can do a difference as, if you will, as a GP Sur, as a social and urban community. One is the large-scale portfolio that we have around the improvement of living conditions in the more, if you will, marginalized settlements. So these would be the favelas in Brazil, the shanty towns in other places. That's a very important business line that we have, and a great entry point at which we can bring the dimension of culture into development. We're very good at building bricks and mortar. We're much less good at ensuring that the non-bricks and mortar dimension is reflected. How is it that we can address issues of urban crime and violence? How is it that we can take the youth at risk? Specifically in Brazil, our analytics have showed that youth, especially in the range of 15 to 18, and especially those who are Afro-descendants, are twice as more likely to be either the perpetrators or the victims of violent crime and homicide than any other demographic group in Brazil. So how can you ensure that as you do the improvement of a favela in Brazil, you're not just building buildings and putting in bricks and mortar, but you're actually reducing urban crime and violence, supporting livelihoods, and ensuring that economic development and a long-lasting peace in the absence of the drug trade in the comunidades in Brazil can thrive. And that's something we're less good at, but it is important that we start focusing on that, and we figure out a way where we apportion our work, where we bring the right level of expertise to support initiatives like Afro Reggae and other endogenous initiatives that are happening on the ground, to support entrepreneurs in the informal sector. I mean, there's a lot of home-based enterprises that are active, that just need the removal of the obstacles that prevent them from functioning in order to be able to thrive and create business. The second one is the beginning of the work that we're trying to do in Timbuktu and in other places, which is when we look at territorial development at lagging regions. What is it that we can do in places that are starting to get affected by conflict or are affected by conflict, like the north of Mali, like the east of Kenya, the north of Cameroon, where we can bring back an integrated development approach that creates economic development opportunities and that focuses on trying to build livelihoods and communities. We don't yet have the answers.
Não temos ainda as respostas a todas essas perguntas, mas temos todas as melhores intenções e temos uma nova configuração das práticas mundiais em termos de desenvolvimento urbano e local. Os peritos sobre isso estão agora trabalhando, aumentando a resiliência dessas comunidades, para ter um efeito duradouro do nosso trabalho. Eu vou parar por aqui, mas agora sou também moderador e deveria ter feito as observações de conclusão, mas chegamos ao final aqui e responderemos 2 ou 3 perguntas, mas pediremos aos participantes para ficar um pouco mais tarde aqui. Apresentem-se, por favor, e façam a pergunta de forma bem breve. Muito obrigado, Sarah MacDonald.
At CPUT in Cape Town, South Africa.
África do Sul, de Cape Town, e de uma organização de formação de professores e aperfeiçoamento de professores. Muito obrigado pela apresentação, foi muito interessante.
And I think also from the World Bank, and I think that in as much as culture is very important,
e na medida em que a cultura é tão importante para a fase de pós-conflito, a cultura é importante também na prevenção. Mas grande parte da cultura foi destruída pelos governos coloniais. Portanto, é preciso agir o mais rapidamente possível e não esperar até que o conflito se instale e tenha fragilizado a sociedade. Na África do Sul, por exemplo, é preciso encarar seriamente a cultura que existia antes. O banco precisa prestar mais atenção àquilo que existia antes da colonização, por exemplo, as línguas. Nós temos boas políticas linguísticas na África do Sul que valorizam as línguas que existiam antes. Mas agora é preciso promover essas línguas para que elas atinjam o mesmo status que o inglês.
As an example.
Como exemplo.
We can take perhaps 2, 3 questions in a row. And
Duas
then
ou três perguntas serão feitas em seguida, assim depois os oradores respondê-las-ão.
So I think my question is both
Eu
for
acho que a minha
Cynthia and
pergunta
Anderson.
é dirigida tanto a Cynthia quanto ao Anderson.
Particularly for Anderson,
No caso do Anderson,
I know the experience a bit better.
Anderson,
I wanted
eu
to ask
conheço a sua
you how
experiência um
you
pouco melhor. Eu
managed
queria
to
te perguntar,
establish
Anderson,
yourself
como é que você
as,
consegue, como é que você conseguiu
a
se
group
estabelecer
that is
ou
not
estabelecer
aligned with,
o grupo
none of the
de forma
armed groups, so to speak, in those environments, being
independente de outros grupos, não se implicar com a polícia ou com o tráfico de drogas? Como é que você manteve essa independência?
Tell us a little bit how you managed to do
Como é que
that.
conseguiu fazer isso, né? Para a Cynthia, a pergunta é a mesma. Como é que você consegue operar num ambiente tão polarizado? Como é que mantém a neutralidade? Como é que você se associa às pessoas certas, mantendo naturalmente as portas abertas para qualquer outro que queira se juntar? Essa que é a pergunta que eu vou fazer para os dois.
Hello, thank you. My name is Rafael. I'm a graduate student of international
Rafael,
development.
eu sou estudante de pós-graduação sobre
And my
desenvolvimento
question is
internacional na
whether
Universidade
the
de
bank
Georgetown.
has
A minha pergunta é a seguinte:
evaluated the
o
actual
banco
impacts
já avaliou
of interventions
o
based on
impacto
culture,
dessas
and whether the
intervenções
bank
baseadas
has
na cultura?
either evidence
O
pointing
banco
towards culture
tem
as an effective
provas
way of
de
promoting
que a cultura
either
é uma
peace or
maneira
economic development or both,
eficaz para promover a paz
or
ou o desenvolvimento
if the bank
econômico?
has plans to
Ou o banco terá ele
pursue a more
planos
evidence-based
para
approach?
adotar um enfoque mais baseado em provas para fazer chegar a essas conclusões?
Maybe I'll ask Cynthia to go first. Then
Darei
Anderson,
primeiro a
and
palavra a
maybe
Cynthia, depois ao Anderson e depois o Alexandre, caso queira falar.
Questions as quickly as possible.
Responderei a pergunta o mais
Point about
rapidamente
culture
possível.
preventing conflict, I think, is an excellent
A
point.
cultura
Of course,
como
culture is so
meio de prevenção da cultura é muito importante. A cultura é muito importante na África do Sul. Ela é muito importante hoje, como era durante o período do apartheid, sobretudo teatro sul-africano, teatro de extraordinária qualidade que contava ao mundo inteiro o que acontecia na África do Sul. Até foi um erro do governo do apartheid permitir esses grupos de teatro viajar, mas foi bom para nós. Agora, no contexto particular de Timbuktu, a situação é tal que é uma situação de saída de conflito e é uma situação de prevenção do conflito também. Eu acho que o ambiente lá não é tão polarizado assim como a pessoa pareceu dizer. Existe uma mistura de jihadistas muito variados, todos provenientes da Líbia em geral, e que infiltram os grupos separatistas do Mali e dão mais força a esses grupos. Eles tornam-se mais perigosos. Mas agora a população não é polarizada. Aliás, é surpreendente ver como é fácil promover a coesão social. Por exemplo, os concertos que eu mencionei, tinha ali um rapper do Sul, e tudo que foi necessário foi ele entrar em contato com alguns tuaregues e encará-los como seres humanos. É isso que a cultura permite fazer. A cultura humaniza as pessoas. O escritor Lusainka da Nigéria disse: a política desumaniza e a cultura humaniza. Quanto à pergunta sobre medidas feitas pelo estudante de Georgetown, como é que se mede isso? Como é que se pode medir em termos quantitativos o impacto? Qual é o impacto do Master Sumi hoje, por exemplo, incluindo os tuaregs, envolvendo-os? Pode-se medir, por exemplo, contando o número de vezes que o disco é tocado na rádio, por exemplo, quantos discos são vendidos. Isso é possível quantificar e tem um certo impacto. Eu não sei se a sua pergunta foi uma pergunta amistosa ou inamistosa, mas em todo caso a minha resposta seria assim: para todos aqueles que falam sobre medidas, bom, é possível medir quantos prédios se constroem, mas vão se medir também quantas pessoas são assassinadas ou morrem na construção desses prédios. Quer dizer, todo tipo de medida que é possível. E a cultura, mais uma vez, devo repetir, eu trabalhava para o Departamento de Estado, da cultura marginalizada. A cultura, muitas vezes, é vítima. É vítima porque desaparece porque as pessoas fazem essa pergunta, como é que se mede a cultura? Bom, mede-se a cultura para a transformação da sociedade. E há indicadores diferentes em grande número. Eu sugeriria que um lugar que demonstra bem o poder da reconstrução através da cultura, um lugar ao qual irei na semana passada, é o Camboja. O Camboja, que foi totalmente destruído em 1980 e que tem milhões de turistas hoje. É uma coisa vale para o Mali. E a reconstrução, a revitalização da cultura cambojana permitiu que isso acontecesse. Agora há um reflorescimento da cultura atual. É extremamente importante fazer o trabalho que a Timbuktu Renaissance faz com o grupo cultural da Google para digitalizar todos os manuscritos de Timbuktu, mas é importante apoiar a tradução e a apresentação online de todas as múltiplas línguas desses manuscritos. Todos conhecem bem a história do salvamento heróico, mas muito poucas pessoas sabem que está nos manuscritos. E nos manuscritos existe a história contra o extremismo. Fala de direitos humanos, direitos de mulheres, boa governança, exploração científica, fala que a Terra revolve em torno do Sol, quer dizer, tudo isso, em torno do Sol, desculpe, tudo isso já existe ali. Imagine quando isso for difundido, daqui a mais ou menos 6 meses será colocado online em línguas diferentes. Imagine o efeito que isso vai ter, mas como é que vai ser possível medir esse efeito? Mas isso vai dar aos malianos e outros muçulmanos em torno do mundo algo em que se apoiar, porque é a história deles. A história deles que está ao mesmo nível que a história de Florença. E aconteceu ao mesmo tempo na história, essas conquistas culturais. Acho que isso é muito importante, é preciso poder demonstrar o impacto, mas eu não aceito que a cultura como instrumento para essas ações deve ser rejeitada se não houver medidas quantitativas.
A gente tem esse trabalho lá focado ao longo desses 23 anos, a gente acabou tendo essa expertise de negociação, né? A gente tem uma espécie de mediação de conflito lá, que foi um trabalho que foi sendo incluído com a gente, porque a gente ia montar o trabalho numa favela, e na favela a gente tem o tráfico. Então a gente tinha que ter uma espécie de informação, de conhecer os traficantes locais, de conseguir ver os líderes comunitários daquela comunidade, a fim de criar essa relação. E ao longo dos anos a gente foi vendo que essa expertise aconteceu naturalmente, que a gente viu que
we knew we would have to get to know the traffickers and see what the community leaders were. So we started also realize that Afro-Reggae was doing good
porque de alguma forma o traficante lá no Rio de Janeiro, ele por mais que venda droga, tenha toda a criminalidade, ele quer trazer um bem à comunidade. Na década de 80, o tráfico no Rio de Janeiro chegou a ser um pouco assistencialista, onde os traficantes faziam festas, os traficantes davam comida para a própria comunidade.
The traffickers were feeding the communities in favela. They were doing good. They were doing social work, and they were seen as such. So that has changed now. So Afro-Reggae then has dialogue and conversations with the police, with the traffickers. We engage everyone. With businessmen around the area, so we know that we are a bridge and we are a two-way street where the community, between the community and those who live outside the community, the favelas. And we, of course, respect the differences, ethnic differences, sexuality differences, social class differences. So that's the basic idea. We, of course, change our experiences to improve the city. So we have to have, of course, we have to engage the community, the members of the city, the police, everybody, for the good of the community.
Just very quick words on measurements. I think when you're talking about conflict, you're talking enormously about perception. And therefore, I think looking at perceptions of people is really, really important, and doing survey about perceptions before and after you have redone the work is actually really interesting, and you can see whether you are achieving certain goals. We have to be a little bit careful not to simplify what's happening too much in Mali. The destructions are done for also religious purposes, because those mausoleums were Sufi Muslim, and because they believed that you are not supposed to give a cult to Sufi saints, you're only supposed to give a cult to God. So it's not every culture representation that have been destroyed, is those representation, because there's an attack on the cult of Sufi saints. And because you are in the framework where you also have a switch of the population towards much more traditional belief, it would be now fascinating to actually see, and I'm all for the restoration of the Muslim, but it would be really important to know what we're really doing with the sort of texture of the society by getting something, a survey that allows us to see how do people really feeling about that, what is happening there, and all that. I would be really curious. And again, I'm all for the rehabilitation, but we have to go into the sort of distinctions of what's really happened there in the mind of the people in the structure of society. Thank you.
Can I just briefly reference that about the mausolea? Because I was actually there in November looking at the restored mausolea with some of the people who worked on it and talked about it with the mayor and with the imam, as well as with the youth leaders in Timbuktu. So it spanned a pretty wide spectrum. And, I must confess from my perspective, that's why I emphasize the listening and understand what it means to them. I look at these buildings, architecturally, these buildings are not especially distinguished. They're like mud huts. However, they are hugely important to the community because they are the mausolea of the great saints of Timbuktu, the 333 saints, the great wise people of Timbuktu. And so people said to me, having those buildings destroyed was like having a limb torn away from them. It was like having someone, stick a knife in their heart. And it was so important to them to have those buildings restored and to know that they were there again where they could go worship. And so, yes, I agree with you. It was religiously motivated. I think it's also control motivated. But having those buildings again it's just a hugely important thing for the population to feel whole and to feel the strength to rebuild. And so I commend Irina Bokova and UNESCO for raising the money and leading the effort to have them restored, because it was very important for the community.
Okay, I think we're 10 minutes past the finish time, so 15 minutes. So let me stop it here and ask you to join me in a round of applause for our speakers. And maybe if our speakers, will spend a couple of minutes, chatting with you for those who wanted to, ask further questions. Thanks for attending.